Fort Carson, Colorado, December 2019. The kind of cold that makes breath hang in the air like smoke and steel feel like ice against bare hands. Staff Sergeant Maya Reeves had served 8 years with the 4th Infantry Division's Military Police Company. She was known for 3 things: precision in her reports, unwavering calm under pressure, and an unbreakable bond with her K9 partner, a Belgian Malinois named Titan. Together, they had conducted over 200 security sweeps, detected contraband in places human eyes missed, and maintained order on one of the largest army installations in the United States. But on the night of December 14th, Maya Reeves made a choice that would cost her everything she had built and reveal a truth the chain of command had tried to bury. It began with a routine patrol. Late shift, Building 7203, a high-security logistics warehouse storing sensitive equipment bound for deployment overseas. Maya and Titan were assigned perimeter security. Standard protocol: walk the grounds, check access points, report anomalies, nothing more. Except Titan detected something the cameras didn't. And when Maya followed her dog's instincts, instead of dismissing them, she triggered a chain of events that would lead to a court-martial, a public scandal, and a reckoning with what it means to serve with integrity when the system itself is compromised. That morning, no one expected a single act of defiance to change military history. What began as routine training became a moment every soldier on base would remember, and one that would test the difference between following orders and doing what's right. Chapter 1. The Last Patrol. The wind cut across the tarmac like a blade. Maya adjusted her gloves, exhaled into the cold, and looked down at Titan. The dog sat at attention, ears forward, eyes scanning the distant tree line. 8 years together, she could read him better than any briefing. "Ready, boy," she murmured. Titan's tail twitched once. That was his yes. They moved in sync across the compound, boots on gravel, the hum of generators, sodium lights casting long shadows across rows of parked Humvees. Building 7203 loomed ahead, a squat, windowless concrete structure surrounded by chain link and razor wire. High-value storage, restricted access, the kind of place where questions weren't welcome. Maya checked her radio. 23:47 hours, shift change in 13 minutes. She keyed the mic. MP7 to base, perimeter sweep sector 4, all clear so far. Copy, MP7, maintain route, report at 0000. She clipped the radio back and continued walking. Titan stayed close, nose working the air. Then, 20 meters from the east access gate, he stopped, not a casual pause, a full alert. His body went rigid, ears pinned back, a low rumble in his chest. Maya's hand went to her sidearm. "Titan, show me." The dog moved forward, nose to the ground, tracking something invisible. He led her to the loading dock, a steel roll-up door with a keypad lock. The door was closed. The lock showed green. No forced entry, no visible disturbance. But Titan was growling. Maya knelt beside him, scanning the area. Nothing. She pulled out her flashlight and swept the beam across the concrete. Clean. Then she noticed it, a faint smudge on the doorframe. Boot print. Fresh. Wrong angle for a delivery. She keyed her radio. MP7 to base, requesting supervisor to Sector 4, Building 7203 East Access. K9 alert. Static. Then a voice. Sergeant First Class Drummond, her direct supervisor. MP7, stand by, do not proceed, repeat, do not proceed, we'll handle it. Maya frowned. Copy, standing by. But Titan wasn't standing by. He was pacing now, agitated, eyes fixed on the door. She had never seen him like this, not for contraband, not for explosives. This was different. She waited. 5 minutes, 10. No one came. She keyed the radio again. MP7 to base, status on supervisor. MP7, return to patrol route, alert logged. We'll investigate in the morning. Maya looked at Titan, then at the door. Every instinct told her something was wrong. Copy, she said. But she didn't move. She stood there in the cold, hand on Titan's collar, staring at that door. And in that moment, she made the choice that would end her career. She reached for the keypad. Chapter 2. The Breach. Maya's fingers hovered over the keypad. She knew the access codes and all MPs did for emergency response, but using them without authorization was a violation. Article 92. Failure to obey order or regulation. Titan whined. Not a plea. A warning. She entered the code. The lock beeped. Green to red. The steel door shuddered, then began to rise with a mechanical groan. Cold air rushed out from the darkness inside. Titan lunged forward, pulling her into the warehouse. Maya swept her flashlight across the interior, rows of steel shelving, crates stamped with inventory codes, tarps covering equipment. Everything looked regulation, but Titan was moving fast now, weaving between aisles. Nose locked on something. Then she saw it. A crate, unmarked, sitting alone in the back corner, away from the labeled inventory. The lid was askew, fresh pry marks on the wood. Titan planted himself in front of it and barked once, sharp, definitive. Maya approached slowly. She lifted the tarp. Beneath it, the crate was half open. Inside, not equipment, not supplies, cash, stacks of it. Shrink-wrapped bundles of $100 bills. Her breath caught. She pulled out her phone, switched on the camera, and started documenting. Crate number, location, close-ups of the bills, Titan sitting alert beside it. Then she heard footsteps. Fast. Multiple people. She spun around. 3 figures emerged from the shadows. 2 MPs she recognized, Corporal Hayes and Specialist Vega. And behind them, Sergeant First Class Drummond. Step away from the crate, Reeves. Drummond's voice was flat. No surprise, no confusion, just command. Maya didn't move. Sergeant, there's unauthorized currency in a restricted... I said step away, Titan growled. Drummond's hand went to his sidearm. Control your dog, Sergeant. Maya's pulse hammered. She could see it now, the way Hayes and Vega positioned themselves, the way Drummond's jaw tightened. They weren't here to investigate. They were here to contain. You were ordered not to proceed, Drummond said. You violated a direct command. That crate is none of your concern. You've compromised an ongoing operation. Maya's mind raced. Ongoing operation. That meant command knew. That meant this wasn't a discovery. It was a disruption. Titan detected contraband, she said carefully. I followed protocol. You followed your dog into a restricted area without authorization. That's insubordination. Hayes stepped forward. Sergeant, we need to secure this scene. Hand over your phone. Maya's grip tightened on the device. I'm filing a report. You're under investigation, Drummond said. Phone, now. She looked at Titan, then at the crate, then at the 3 soldiers blocking the exit. She had 2 choices, comply and let this disappear, or push forward and risk everything. She took a breath. No, Sergeant. The word hung in the cold air. Drummond's expression hardened. That's a direct order, Reeves. Well, then I'm formally requesting CID investigation under Article 138. I have documented evidence of Corporal Hayes. Restrain her. Hayes moved fast, but Titan moved faster. The dog surged forward, teeth bared, putting himself between Maya and the advancing soldier. Hayes froze. Call him off, Reeves. Maya's voice was steady. Titan, guard. The dog held position. Low growl. Eyes locked on Hayes. Drummond drew his sidearm. Last chance, Sergeant. Maya raised her hands slowly. I'm not resisting, but I'm not giving you my phone, and I'm not staying silent. For 5 long seconds, no one moved. Then Drummond holstered his weapon. Fine, we do this the hard way. He keyed his radio. Base, this is Drummond. I need command and CID to Building 7203 immediately. We have an incident. Maya's heart pounded. She had just ended her career, but she had also just made sure this wouldn't stay buried. Titan stayed at her side, watchful and loyal, and in that moment she knew she had made the right choice. Chapter 3. The Accusation. By 0200 hours, Building 7203 was flooded with light. Command vehicles, CID investigators, armed MPs securing the perimeter. Major General Patricia Hawthorne herself, installation commander, arrived in a staff car flanked by JAG officers. Maya stood outside the warehouse, hands behind her back, Titan sitting at her feet. She had been separated from her weapon, her radio, and her phone. But she hadn't been cuffed. Not yet. Drummond stood 20 meters away, speaking in low tones with a CID agent. Hayes and Vega had been pulled aside for statements. The crate was still inside, now under guard. Major General Hawthorne approached. She was in her early 50s, silver hair pulled tight, eyes that missed nothing. She stopped in front of Maya. Staff Sergeant Reeves. "Ma'am." Maya snapped to attention. Hawthorne studied her for a moment. "You entered a restricted area without authorization. You disobeyed a direct order from your supervising NCO. You refused to surrender evidence. Do you understand the severity of what you've done?" "Yes, ma'am." "Then explain." Maya kept her voice level. "Ma'am, my K9 detected an anomaly during routine patrol. I requested supervisor response. When none arrived and my dog continued alerting, I made the tactical decision to investigate. Inside, I discovered unmarked currency in an unauthorized crate. When Sergeant Drummond arrived, he attempted to suppress my report and confiscate my documentation. I invoked Article 138 to request formal investigation." Hawthorne's expression didn't change. "And you believe your actions were justified?" "I believe I followed my duty to report misconduct, ma'am. Your duty was to obey orders. My duty is to the integrity of this installation." Silence, the kind that feels like judgment. Then Hawthorne turned to the CID agent. "I want that crate inventoried. I want every access log for this building pulled, and I want statements from everyone involved." She looked back at Maya. "You're confined to quarters pending investigation. Titan will be transferred to the K9 unit." Maya's chest tightened. "Ma'am, he's my partner. He's Army property, and you're under suspicion of violating Article 92 and Article 134. Be grateful I'm not placing you in custody." "Ma'am." "Dismissed, Sergeant." Maya saluted. Hawthorne returned it, sharp and final. As Maya turned to leave, she felt Titan press against her leg. She knelt and placed her hand on his head. "It's okay, boy. You did good." A K9 handler she didn't recognize approached with a leash. "I'll take him, Sergeant." Maya stood slowly, released Titan's collar, and watched as her partner was led away. The dog looked back once, ears forward, confused. Then he was gone. Comment where you're watching from. I want to know how far stories of courage and integrity can reach. Chapter 4. The silence, confined to quarters, meant isolation. No duty, no access to the K9 unit, no communication with other MPs. Maya sat in her small barracks room, staring at the blank wall, replaying every decision. She had expected consequences, but she hadn't expected the silence. No one visited, no calls. The only interaction came from the daily check-in, a junior MP who knocked twice, confirmed she was present and left without a word. On the third day, a manila envelope slid under her door. Inside, formal charges. Article 92, failure to obey order or regulation. Article 134, conduct prejudicial to good order and discipline. Court-martial proceedings scheduled for January 8th, 3 weeks away. Maya read it twice. Then she set it down and stared at the ceiling. She thought about Titan, wondered if he was eating, if he understood why she wasn't there. Dogs didn't comprehend bureaucracy or legal procedure. They understood loyalty, and right now he probably thought she had abandoned him. That hurt more than the charges. On the 5th day, she received a visitor, Captain Nora Hale, JAG defense attorney, mid-30s, sharp suit, briefcase in hand. She sat across from Maya in the small room and opened a folder. "Staff Sergeant Reeves, I've been assigned your case." Maya nodded. "Ma'am, I've reviewed the charges and the initial statements. I'll be direct, this doesn't look good. You violated a direct order. You entered a restricted area. You refused to comply with evidence surrender. The prosecution has a strong case for Article 92. I understand. Do you?" Hale leaned forward. "Because if you're convicted, you're looking at reduction in rank, forfeiture of pay, and possible confinement. Your military career is over." Maya met her eyes. "What about the crate?" Hale paused. "What about it? The money, the unauthorized currency, what happened to it?" "That's part of an ongoing CID investigation. It's not relevant to your case." "It's the reason I'm here." "No," Hale said carefully. "You're here because you disobeyed orders. The content of the crate doesn't justify your actions. That's what the prosecution will argue." Maya felt the weight of it. The system wasn't interested in why, only in what. "So, what do I do?" she asked quietly. Hale closed the folder. "You have two options. Plead guilty, accept a plea deal. Likely reduction to E5, loss of some pay, administrative separation. Clean, quiet, over in a week. Or you fight it. Go to trial, make your case, risk everything." "And if I fight? Then we need a defense that goes beyond 'my dog told me to.' We need evidence, witnesses, proof that your actions prevented harm or uncovered misconduct significant enough to justify insubordination." Maya looked at her hands. "I have my phone. The photos. CID has your phone. And even if we get those photos admitted, they show cash in a crate, not theft, not conspiracy, just money. Without context, it's not enough." "Then what is enough?" Hale stood. "I'll be honest, Sergeant. I don't know yet, but I'll do everything I can." She paused at the door. "One question. Why didn't you just walk away? You could have reported it the next morning through proper channels." Maya thought about Titan, about the way he had alerted, about the look in Drummond's eyes. "Because walking away meant letting it disappear," she said. "And I didn't become a soldier to look the other way." Hale nodded slowly. "Then let's hope that matters." She left. Maya sat alone again, the charges on the table, the silence pressing in. And somewhere on base, Titan was waiting. Chapter 5. The investigation CID operated in shadows. They didn't brief suspects. They didn't share findings. They worked in silence, following threads until they unraveled or led somewhere actionable. But leaks happen. Soldiers talk. And by the second week of Maya's confinement, whispers began to spread across Fort Carson. Heard Reeves found something in the warehouse. Money. Lots of it. Drummond tried to cover it up. They're court-martialing her for it. The rumors reached Captain Hale, who reached Maya. "CID finished the inventory," Hale said during their next meeting. "The crate you found contained 470 Udriller in cash, no serial number tracking, no chain of custody documentation, no authorized requisition." Maya's pulse quickened. So, it was illegal. Not necessarily. The money was part of a classified DoD fund for overseas contingency operations. Problem is, it wasn't supposed to be in that warehouse. It was supposed to be in a secure treasury facility in Virginia. Then how did it get here? That's what CID is trying to figure out. The access logs show only 3 people entered that building in the 48 hours before your patrol. Drummond, Hayes, and a civilian contractor named Richard Vasquez. Maya frowned. "Vasquez? I've seen him around. Logistics liaison, right?" "Correct, and he's the link. Vasquez had authorization to move equipment for deployment prep. But he also had access to fund transfers. CID suspects he was siphoning money from the contingency account, using falsified transport orders to move it through Fort Carson before sending it offshore." "And Drummond knew?" Hale nodded. "Drummond received payments, $15 over 6 months, deposited in an account under his wife's name. CID believes he was providing security cover, making sure no one looked too closely at Building 7203 during certain hours. Maya exhaled slowly. So I interrupted a theft operation. You did, but here's the problem. CID can't prove Drummond intended to stop you from discovering the money. He claims he told you to stand by because he suspected a security breach and wanted to secure the scene properly. He says you disobeyed protocol and contaminated evidence. That's a lie. Maybe, but it's a plausible lie. And without proof of his intent, the prosecution still has a case against you for insubordination. Maya felt the walls closing in. So even though I was right, I'm still guilty. Not if we can prove your actions prevented a crime, if we can show that following orders would have allowed Drummond to move or destroy evidence, then your disobedience becomes justified under exigent circumstances. How do we prove that? Hale pulled out a document. Security footage. Building 7203 has 3 cameras, exterior, loading dock, interior. CID reviewed them. But here's what's interesting. The interior camera was disabled from 2200 to 0100 the night you entered. Someone manually cut the feed. Drummond, most likely. But the exterior camera caught something. At 23:35, 12 minutes before you arrived, Hayes and Vega entered the building with Drummond. They were inside for 8 minutes, then they left. 4 minutes later, you arrived. Maya leaned forward. What were they doing in there? That's the question. If they were moving the money, your arrival stopped them. If they were tampering with evidence, you preserved it. Either way, it supports your defense. Can we get the footage admitted? I'm pushing for it, but the prosecution is arguing it's not relevant to your charges. They're trying to separate the theft investigation from your court-martial. That's insane. That's the system. Hale closed her folder. But I'm not giving up. I'm filing a motion to compel testimony from Drummond, Hayes, and Vega, and I'm requesting Titan's alert logs. Maya blinked. His what? K9 alert logs. Every time Titan detects something, it's recorded. If his alert pattern that night was consistent with contraband or human threat, it establishes reasonable cause for your actions. For the first time in days, Maya felt a flicker of hope. When do we go to trial? She asked. January 8th, 21 days. Hale stood. Get ready, Sergeant. This is going to be a fight. Chapter 6. The testimony. The courtroom was sterile, grey walls, fluorescent lights, a panel of 5 officers sitting in judgment, Major General Hawthorne presiding. Maya sat at the defense table in her dress uniform, medals aligned, posture straight. Captain Hale beside her, files stacked, pen ready. Across the aisle, the prosecution, Captain Dennis Corman, JAG trial counsel. He had a reputation for precision and no mercy. The gallery was half full. Soldiers who had heard the rumors, a few reporters, and in the back row, partially hidden, a K9 handler Maya didn't recognize. Beside him, Titan. The dog's ears perked when he saw her. His tail twitched once. Maya's chest tightened. Hawthorne called the court to order. We are convened for the court-martial of Staff Sergeant Maya Reeves, charged under Article 92 and Article 134 of the Uniform Code of Military Justice. Captain Corman, your opening statement. Corman stood. General, members of the panel, this case is not complicated. On December 14th, Staff Sergeant Reeves received a direct order from her supervising NCO to stand by and not enter Building 7203. She disobeyed that order. She entered a restricted area without authorization. She refused to surrender evidence when commanded. These are facts. The defense may argue motive. They may argue intent. But motive does not excuse insubordination. The integrity of military discipline depends on one principle: orders are followed. Staff Sergeant Reeves failed that principle. We ask that you find her guilty as charged." He sat. Hale stood. "General, members of the panel, this case is about more than orders. It's about judgment. Staff Sergeant Reeves is a decorated military police NCO with 8 years of exemplary service. On the night of December 14th, she and her K9 partner detected a legitimate security threat. When her supervisor failed to respond and her dog continued alerting, she made a tactical decision to investigate. What she found was 470 $, in unauthorized cash, part of an active theft operation involving her supervisor. Her actions preserved evidence and prevented further crime. We will show that her so-called disobedience was not insubordination, but duty. We ask that you find her not guilty." The trial began. Corman called Drummond first. He testified that Maya had violated protocol, that he had given clear orders, that she had acted recklessly. Hale cross-examined. "Sergeant Drummond, why were you in Building 7203 at 23:35 hours, before Staff Sergeant Reeves arrived?" "I was conducting a security check." "For 8 minutes?" "Correct. And during that check, did you encounter the crate containing 470 $?" Drummond hesitated. "I observed the crate, yes." "Did you report it?" "I planned to, pending further investigation." "But you didn't report it that night. You waited until Staff Sergeant Reeves discovered it. Why?" "I wanted to confirm details before filing. Or you wanted to move it before anyone else found it." "Objection," Corman said. "Speculation." "Sustained." But the seed was planted. Next, Hale called the K9 handler who had reviewed Titan's alert logs. "Sergeant Morris, you reviewed Titan's behavior logs for December 14th. What did you find?" Titan exhibited a level 3 alert, sustained focus, physical agitation, refusal to disengage. That pattern is consistent with detection of contraband, explosives, or human threat. In your professional opinion, was Titan's alert legitimate? Absolutely. That dog doesn't false alert. If he locked on something, it was there. Hale turned to the panel. Titan detected a threat. Staff Sergeant Reeves followed her dog's training. That is not insubordination. That is doing her job. The courtroom was silent. Then, Captain Corman played his final card. He called a witness Maya hadn't expected, Specialist Vega. Vega testified that Maya had been aggressive, that she had threatened them, that Titan had nearly attacked Hayes. It was a lie, but it was under oath. Hale stood for cross-examination. Specialist Vega, were you present when Sergeant Drummond told Staff Sergeant Reeves to stand by? No, ma'am. So you don't know if she disobeyed orders? I know she was inside when she shouldn't have been. And were you aware that Sergeant Drummond was under CID investigation for accepting bribes? Vega's face went pale. I don't know anything about that. But you do know $470,000 was in that building, and you know it wasn't supposed to be there. Objection. Corman stood. The witness is not on trial here. Neither is my client, Hale shot back. She's being court-martialed for stopping a crime. Counselor, Hawthorne began, but before she could finish, the courtroom door opened. A CID agent entered, holding a folder. He approached the bench and spoke quietly to Hawthorne. The room held its breath. Hawthorne opened the folder, read, then looked up. This court is in recess. All parties will remain. If this story already has your respect, hit the like button. It helps the story of Maya Reeves reach those who still believe in honor. Chapter 7. The Revelation. The recess lasted 30 minutes. When court reconvened, there was a new tension in the air. Hawthorne's expression was unreadable, but her jaw was set. Captain Corman, Captain Hale, approach. Both attorneys stepped forward. Hawthorne spoke in low tones, but the words carried. CID has just provided additional evidence. Security footage recovered from an off-site server shows Sergeant Drummond, Corporal Hayes, and Specialist Vega moving the crate in question at 00:15 hours, 15 minutes after Staff Sergeant Reeves was detained. They were attempting to relocate it before CID arrived. Corman's face went white. Hale remained still, but her eyes sharpened. Hawthorne continued. This footage was not disclosed during discovery. CID only recovered it this morning after a forensic review of deleted server files. It directly contradicts Sergeant Drummond's testimony. "General," Corman said carefully, "I was not aware. I don't care what you were aware of, Captain. Your key witness just committed perjury, and the foundation of your case just collapsed." She looked at the panel. "In light of new evidence, I am dismissing Article 92 charges against Staff Sergeant Reeves. However, Article 134, conduct prejudicial to good order and discipline, remains. The question is whether her refusal to surrender her phone constituted misconduct or justified preservation of evidence." Hawthorne turned to Maya. "Staff Sergeant Reeves, stand." Maya rose. "You disobeyed an order. You entered a restricted area. You refused a direct command. Under normal circumstances, those actions warrant punishment. But circumstances were not normal. You uncovered criminal activity, you preserved evidence, and your actions led to the arrest of 3 individuals involved in theft of government funds." She paused. "However, discipline cannot be conditional. The chain of command must be respected even when flawed. Do you understand that?" "Yes, ma'am." "Good. Then here is my ruling. You are found not guilty of Article 92. Regarding Article 134, I am issuing a reprimand for failure to follow proper evidence handling protocol. You will receive a written counseling statement. No reduction in rank, no forfeit of pay, but this will remain in your record." Maya's breath steadied. "Yes, ma'am. Additionally, I'm recommending you for the Army Commendation Medal for actions that prevented further criminal activity and upheld the integrity of this installation." The courtroom stirred. Hawthorne continued. "You are restored to duty, effective immediately. Your K-9 partner will be returned to you, and I am personally assigning you to assist CID in training new K-9 units on advanced threat detection." Maya felt the weight lift. Not completely, but enough. "Thank you, ma'am." Hawthorne's expression softened slightly. "You did the right thing, Sergeant. It just cost you more than it should have." "Dismissed." Maya saluted. Hawthorne returned it. As Maya turned to leave, she saw Titan in the back row. The handler released him. The dog bolted forward, weaving between benches. Until he reached her, Maya knelt. Titan pressed his head against her chest, tail wagging furiously. She wrapped her arms around him and closed her eyes. "We're okay, boy," she whispered. "We're okay." Chapter 8. The Aftermath. Drummond, Hayes, and Vega were arrested 3 days after the trial. CID's investigation expanded, revealing a network of theft and fraud involving 6 installations across 3 states. The total loss exceeded $2–3 million. Richard Vasquez, the civilian contractor, fled to Mexico. He was extradited 4 months later and sentenced to 12 years in federal prison. Drummond received a dishonorable discharge and 6 years at Fort Leavenworth. Hayes and Vega were reduced in rank, confined, and separated from service. Maya returned to duty. The reprimand stayed in her file, but it didn't define her. Soldiers who had once avoided her now nodded in hallways. Younger MPs asked her questions. Handlers requested her insights on K-9 behavior. She became quietly a symbol, not of rebellion, but of integrity. 6 months later, she was promoted to Sergeant First Class. The ceremony was small, just her unit, a few command staff and Titan sitting at her feet. Major General Hawthorne pinned the new rank on her uniform. "You earned this, Sergeant, not despite what happened." because of it." Maya saluted. "Thank you, Ma'am." Afterward, she walked the base with Titan. They passed Building 7203. It had been decommissioned, repurposed as a training facility. The crate was long gone, but the memory remained. She thought about that night, the cold, the choice, the weight of standing alone against a system that wanted silence. She thought about the soldiers who had looked away, and the ones who hadn't. She thought about Titan, who had alerted when no one else saw the threat, and she realized something. Courage isn't the absence of fear. It's the refusal to let fear dictate your choices. Duty isn't blind obedience. It's the willingness to act when action is right, even if it costs everything. And loyalty, real loyalty, isn't to rank or command. It's to the people who trust you to do the right thing when no one is watching. Chapter 9. The Legacy. A year later, Maya received an invitation. The Army had launched a new training program, the Ethical Leadership and K9 Integration Course. It was designed to teach MPs and handlers how to navigate moral dilemmas in the field, how to recognize when orders conflict with duty, how to document and report without fear of retaliation. They wanted Maya to lead it. She stood in front of the first class, 20 soldiers, young and uncertain, some with their own dogs, sitting at attention. "Good morning," she began. "My name is Sergeant First Class Maya Reeves. I'm here to talk about loyalty. Not the kind they teach in basic, the kind you discover when everything is on the line." She told them her story, not as a hero, but as someone who had made a hard choice and lived with the consequences. She told them about Titan, about the alert, about the silence that followed. She told them about the trial, the reprimand, the doubts, and she told them what she learned. You will face moments when following orders feels wrong, when silence feels safer, when walking away seems smarter. And in those moments, you'll have to decide who you want to be. She paused, looking at the young faces. "I'm not going to tell you to disobey orders. I'm not going to tell you the system is broken. But I will tell you this: your integrity is yours. No one can take it unless you give it away. And if you ever find yourself in a position where doing the right thing means standing alone, remember this: you're not alone. There are others who have stood where you stand, and they're still standing." She glanced down at Titan, who sat calmly at her side. "Your dog knows when something's wrong. Trust that. Your instincts know when something's off. Trust that too. And if you ever have to choose between your career and your conscience, choose the one you can live with." The room was silent. Then one soldier in the back raised his hand. "Sergeant, do you regret it?" Maya smiled. "Not for a second. Subscribe for more stories of loyalty, courage, and justice within the ranks. Thank you for watching the case of Staff Sergeant Maya Reeves. See you in the next one.